Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are watching us from. Welcome to the Arcangelo Season 2021 Virtual Season Launch. My name is Julian Forbes, I'm Arcangelo's General Manager, and I'm joined tonight by Arcangelo's founder and Artistic Director, Jonathan Cohen.
Hello.
And by one of our newest recruits, violinist Sophia Prodanova.
Oh.
We'll be talking more with Johnny and Sophia throughout our virtual event. But we didn't want to waste any time in cutting to some music. It's been since February now that we haven't had an opportunity to perform to you at Arcangelo. Earlier this afternoon here in this space, Johnny and Sophia were joined by the violinist James Toll, cellist Andrew Skidmore, for a performance of Handel's Trio Sonata in E minor, and we are delighted to share that with you now. We very much hope you enjoyed that performance of Handel's Trio Sonata in E minor, performed by John Cohen over James Toll and Skidmore, recorded just this afternoon. If you have just signed on to the live stream, don't worry, you can watch the whole performance, the whole live stream when it ends for up to 14 days via the Arcangelo Members Lounge, and there is more music to come. Johnny, what's it like to make music again after so long?
Oh, Jules, it's thrilling. I mean, you know, it's been a long time since we didn't play from March, and just it's just lovely to be able to play chamber music again. You know, I think music, as you probably heard from that last piece, is such a social enterprise. So it just feels lovely to have the music in the fingers once again.
Sounds like you haven't gone out of practice one bit.
Well, that's very kind. I'm not so sure.
Ordinarily, tonight's virtual season launch would, of course, be a real thing. We would invite you, our friends and supporters, to a real place, and we'd perform music and share our plans with you in person. Of course, tonight we have to do things virtually, but as with a real event, we are indebted to a host, and our host here tonight is Professor Clive Potter, who is a trustee of Arcangelo, and we will thank him again at the end of the broadcast, but we would ordinarily, I think, thank him also at the beginning. So thank you very much, Clive, for welcoming us to your home and allowing us to turn it into a workplace. I should stress, a workplace for today. What can we announce to you by way of plans as a season 2021 virtual season launch? We can't lie, it's going to be very difficult to announce concert plans with much confidence for a little while. We are still very hopeful of concert appearances in Germany next year. We are currently scheduled to appear in Hamburg on the 14th of April in a programme of Handel's 9 German arias with Christian Karg. There's been a very exciting new inquiry which has come in during this summer for another performance also in Germany of Handel's Theodora. So we cross fingers in great hope and expectation of that. But this season, it's clear that the recording studio, which has been Arcangelo's great friend from the start, is only going to be so much more important to what we do. And happily, we have a season chock full of top-notch recording plans. And the first of them is actually going into the studio just next week. It's with Iestyn Davies, a long-standing and very successful Arcangelo collaborator, at least where gramophone awards are concerned. Johnny, what music are we at last making again with Iestyn next week? What's on the...
Yeah, so we're going to be following up our recording of the Bach alto cantatas with a volume 2 of the other 2 missing ones. Iestyn's actually a very important collaborator for Arcangelo. It was, I think, 10 years ago when we did our first CD of Porpora cantatas, and actually that was sort of probably a lot to do with the formation of Arcangelo. So with Iestyn, as you've mentioned, we collaborated often with the arias of Guardani, sang on Magnificats, and in the Promise Theodora that we did. So it's just great to be able to go back and do more Bach with Iestyn.
Yeah, and some Schutz and Buxtehude as
That's
well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's quite an intricate program. The music is beautiful, but very deep and very profound, very complex music theologically and musically as well. There's a very integrated organ part, which is going to be played by Tom Foster, a marvellously talented keyboardist. So in a way, it's a kind of two soloists on this.
I was about to say, there's actually some serious organ playing on this disc as well.
Absolutely.
It's pretty much a concerto for the orchestra.
All the time, and these huge symphonias at the beginning of those cantatas, almost like concertos. Well, they are really. I mean, one you'll recognise from the Harpsichord, famous Harpsichord.
When we recorded the last disc of Bach cantatas with Iestyn, I think we sort of, well, not padded it out, you can't exactly pad it out, but we put a Brandenburg concerto on the disc as well, but there's no need to add any extra orchestral music. There's a lot for Arcangelo to do as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that Bach constantly did was recycle a lot of his music in different formats. So we put a couple of the Brandenburg concertos, but from symphonias from cantatas. So it wasn't, Brandenburg 3, but it was the symphonia from a cantata, rewritten with horns and all sorts of exciting things. It really sort of changes the music, but gives a different perspective, and I think Bach was always doing that.
Yeah. Then a happy new arrival in the schedule, a recording that we were not going to be doing at all. It's happened because of COVID, in fact.
Yeah.
Kate Lindsay rang us up. didn't she? And,
Yes,
and what's happened as a result of that?
Yeah, we had a fabulous collaboration with Kate on the first CD we did not too long ago, actually, Ariana, which was a mix of cantatas around the theme of Ariana, who was abandoned on an island. A very dramatic music, and that went so well, and we enjoyed working together very much. So we're putting together a new CD now, which is going to be on the theme of Nero, Nero the tyrant, and also from the point of view of the people that Nero oppressed, so including music from Monteverdi's Poppaea and Agrippina, stuff like that, Monteverdi, Handel, and to continue also with Scarlatti. We found on the first CD that Scarlatti is a wealth of beautiful cantatas by Scarlatti, and they're very rarely done. So we wanted to get out the Scarlatti cantatas again, and we found two which are related to Nero. So that's going to be a real discovery. It's
almost going to be a little sort of chamber opera about Nero, because the first cantata starts with him introducing himself, and the final cantata actually is Nero singing, repenting of his crimes before he commits suicide.
Yeah, so there's a lot of dramatic writing and reflections on death and torture. So it's like really, really, really out there. We have to thank James Halliday as well, our Arcangelo researcher, musician, librarian, who's done fantastic research into this and made a beautiful program. So
yeah, including 2 world premieres, I should say, and a piece by Monari, which no one's heard before.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's beautiful music. We started rehearsing it, and I'm really thrilled that we're doing that. Yeah.
Now, the next project we record next year, we actually already introduced to Arcangelo supporters at our supporter event last year, which is a recording of Vivaldi with Tim Mead. So we might just sort of, not no disrespect to Tim, but slightly pass over that one here, because I know our supporters have heard about it directly from Tim. But then in May, we take on one of the pillars of the 18th century cello repertoire, which means it's instantly very close to your heart indeed. What is it, and who's it with?
Yeah, Nicholas Altstedt, who we recorded the CPE Bach cello concertos with. He's been a long-standing friend of mine for a long time, and I'm very admiring of his brilliant cello playing. And we're going to take on Boccherini, and I think there's a very good case for taking on Boccherini, not only because it needs the kind of absolute technical wizardry that someone like Nicholas possesses. It often goes off the end of the fingerboard on the cello, but also a very refined sense of style in the Baroque music, which Nicholas really possesses. So having those two qualities in someone like Nicholas is just such a good reason to do these wonderful pieces that are not often done. I mean, I think there's really a case for doing a new recording of Boccherini.
Yeah. And our supporters will be able to find out more about our recording plans in the company of the artist. It's going to be another virtual event, I'm afraid, but actually Zoom's made some things possible that we didn't think about before. So over the course of the coming year, we're going to be holding some online events at which you'll be able to meet our recording soloists and find out more about the programmes and the music that they're performing in discussion with Johnny and of course each other. So we'll send more details about those events later in the year, but do look forward to those. They will be fascinating. I can tell you in particular the events with Nick Altstedt and Johnny getting all geeky about the cello is going to be, well, possibly at times inscrutable, but never less than full of content. I'm now going to turn to Sophia, because another thing that is definitely happening this year is the launch of our new Young Artist Programme, our Arcangelo New Ensemblists scheme. We held auditions to Arcangelo last year, and as part of that process we identified 2 superb young players to join the Arcangelo Ensemble as our first 2 Arcangelo New Ensemblists. And one of them is Sophia. Sophia, it's high time that you told us about yourself and where you're from and what you're up to.
Okay, well, I come from Bulgaria. I moved to the UK about 6 years ago to study at the Yehudi Menuhin School, which is a specialist music school near London. And I'm now in my last year of undergrad at the Guildhall School of Music, studying with David Takeno and Pavlo Visnozyuk.
And everything is still happening, in fact, all that study, weekly online lessons, nothing interrupted, all going ahead.
Yes, it's really lovely to just go around the corridors of the Guildhall School, meeting your friends after a long break. Coachings on chamber music are still happening, opera projects, symphony, orchestra, everything is on.
That's really good.
But will be live streamed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You will still be able to see it, but from your bedroom or living room.
Comfort of wherever you are. I should say, by the way, I know that somebody tonight is tuning in from Australia. So Good morning, I think. We're very delighted that you're all with us. How did you come to audition for Arcangelo?
Well, the Arcangelo is an ensemble that I've been following quite a lot for the last 4 years, and I think I was probably stalking sort of the program and the schedule of the group one summer, and I saw that there was going to be an audition for more players that Arcangelo was organizing. And I thought, that's the absolute best thing I can do. And I also got some encouragement from one of the leaders of the Arcangelo, Mikhail Gorevich, who was very kind to recommend me to do that.
We're very glad he did so. What are you looking forward to about the scheme? I know that some of the concert opportunities are already being a little bit pushed back, but there's lots of other things. What are you looking forward to about being part of the scheme?
Well, the prospect of sharing the stage with such incredibly creative and just inspiring musicians and learning from them, observing them is going to be absolutely precious for me. So, yeah.
And of course, we're also going to be making sure that you get some coaching time with Johnny as
Yes.
well. We'll be supporting you with some other initiatives. We'll be giving you some support to run your own little project, some personal development fund, which you'll be able to sort of use creatively as you will. So there's all sorts of interesting things planned, which will happen no matter what. Johnny, why are you so happy that we launched this new ensemble scheme? I know you are.
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. I think it's absolutely vital. I think it's such a lovely thing to do to have new talent coming into the ensemble. I think thinking back to when I was starting my career as a cellist, I think I found some of the most inspiring and useful situations actually just to be on the concert platform and sharing a desk with experienced players. You know, I used to go to Proshakov quite a lot, and one of the philosophies of the founder there, Handel, who was a great Hungarian teacher, was to place students and younger musicians with older, more experienced musicians on the same footing. And really, that's such a great way to absorb and enriches also our ensemble. This doesn't become stagnant. There's always creative new lifeblood. So I'm really thrilled that we can do that. So thank you.
Yeah, us too. And of course, the other player who's joining the scheme, he can't be with us tonight. He probably wouldn't have been anyway because he lives in Madrid. Ismael Nieto, really remarkable young man. Just remind us why you enjoyed his audition.
Oh, so he was absolutely phenomenal bass player. I mean, he managed to play with. You hardly noticed it was a double bass in a way. You know, with the awkwardness of the size of the instrument. He played solo Bach, I think, on this, and everyone was just, you know, bowled over.
It was one of the cello suites, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Musicianship and technical ability. Yeah, he's a lovely guy. So very happy.
Yeah. No, we're delighted to be welcoming Sophia and Ismael to Arcangelo for the coming year. Sophia, we are now going to hear you play. You also recorded a performance earlier this afternoon. Tell us a little bit about it.
So this is a sonata by the Italian composer and violinist Carlo Zuccari, who lived a very long life, 89 years, throughout the entirety of the 18th century. So I came across his music while I was listening to an album of the really remarkable Bulgarian Baroque violinist Kelemen Nikitasova. And in this album, actually, what caught my eye was a few pieces which are part of this method that he wrote for the violin, which are pieces in adagio, so extremely slow. It's called the true method of playing an adagio. And I thought, gosh, that's really good for me, because I'd been hinted many times that I have to find more zen in my playing. So I started to explore these pieces, and then I saw that there are also 10 really amazing sonatas that are just not very often performed. And I thought, what better piece to bring to the table than something that hasn't been performed so much? So that's the story.
Well, here it is then. It's Zuccari's Violin Sonata number 10 from his Opus 1 set, performed earlier by Sophia Prodanova and Johnny Cohen. Well, we are still negotiating a little background issue, but the good news is we have a backup plan. We always have a backup plan at Arcangelo. It just means that we have to reveal our surprise guest performer a little earlier than we planned. The last piece that was going to be performed tonight was a special guest performance by a musician who has never played with Arcangelo before. He's due to play with Arcangelo in June and then again next September. He's a long-standing friend of Johnny's. Johnny, reveal who we're talking about.
Yes, this is the wonderful Hungarian violinist Barnabas Kelemen, who I've known since I was about 18 or 19, and we've played chamber music together in various guises almost every year at his festivals or at House and in Budapest, and he's a great colleague who I very much admire. We have a program next year at Wigmore Hall with Barnabas, so I thought it was a very good idea to ask him if he could deliver us a little message and perhaps play his violin from Budapest in Hungary. So
we had no idea what he was going to do for us, so this is a complete lucky dip.
Yeah, and he's recorded a very nice little message, so I hope you enjoy his
here's a
Barnabas.
Surprise mystery guest performance from Barnabas Kelemen.
Lots of love from Budapest. How stupid that I couldn't fly to London, but I'm sending my love to Jonathan Cohen, and to his lovely ensemble, the Arcangelo Orchestra, and big thanks to all the supporters who make possible every project. And I just played 2 movements from Bach, the Sarabande and Gigue from the D minor Partita, and I'm looking so much forward to collaborate again with Johnny, and actually first time with this orchestra. And yes, well, I know Johnny for almost 20 years and we have played so many things together, but I'm really looking forward to all of our new projects that we have in plan. Goodbye.
A lovely surprise performance which arrived in our inbox just this morning from Barnabas Kelemen in Hungary, and you can watch it again once the broadcast is over for up to 14 days via the Arcangelo Members Lounge. We come to the Q&A questions, which you can send them in by emailing arcangeloteam@gmail.com. Now there's one question which I'm going to assume that somebody must be on the verge of asking, which is who took those beautiful photographs in the background. Those photographs were taken by Christopher Jonas, an Arcangelo supporter, among other things. And you can see a further selection of Christopher's photographs elsewhere in the Arcangelo Members Lounge. He has a fascinating background and career in business and the arts. He was involved in the Tate restoration program and also the rebuild at ENO, and then turned to photography more recently, and is a wonderful sensitive photographer who uses only natural light. And I say you can view a selection of his photographs of Arcangelo and photographs from quite different walks of life elsewhere in the Arcangelo Members Lounge. And we're delighted, thank you Christopher, for making those enlargements for us to display as part of our set this evening. Some questions have come in, I'm delighted to say, and actually the first question, Sophia, it turns out, is for you, and it's not what has happened to your performance of Zuccari, don't worry, that's coming back very soon. Somebody has asked actually, who are your favourite Baroque violinists? Do you have any role models on the Baroque violin?
It will have to be Rachel Podger. She really is the reason why I became serious about playing the violin in the first place, and then why I decided to learn to play the Baroque violin as well. And actually a really lovely coincidence that happened only 2 weeks ago was that she played her Wigmore exactly on my birthday. So I do thank her for that. I was having my quarantine in London, so I was quite miserable, but she really lightened up my day with this concert.
There's also a nice little story actually which relates you to the photograph over your left shoulder, because in the background there is Misha Gorovic, who you've already mentioned as the person who was quite important in encouraging you to audition for us.
Yes.
But that is a picture from a rehearsal at Wigmore Hall when we were performing with Isabel Faust. And in the audience that night at Wigmore Hall in 2016 was you.
Myself, yes. It's really amazing because this evening was really a turning point for me. At the time I was having lessons with Misha, and he granted me the ticket for this amazing concert that I will never forget. And he introduced me to Johnny in the backstage. And Johnny completely casually said to me, "Oh, you should come play with us one day." And I thought, yes, only in my dreams. But
here we are.
Yes.
They come true.
Yes.
Marvellous. Yeah, no, it's a really nice story and a total coincidence, I should say, because we had no idea when we selected this photograph from Christopher's set that there was a little secret background connection between it and Sophia. Johnny, someone has gone straight in and lowered the tone here on the questions, I'm afraid. They said, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you on stage in your career?
On stage, yes, yes. You know how concert halls sometimes all look very modern and sleek, and the doors of the backstage area onto the stage are sometimes disguised as the wall?
Yes.
That's happened in a few places. Once that I walked off after the people clapping and pushed something that ended up being a cupboard. So I spent a few minutes in the cupboard before coming back on again for another applause. So I suppose that could be something.
I'm sorry I wasn't there. There's another question. Julian, where did you get your socks from? I got my socks from TM Lewin. It's a genuine question. It's just come in. Thank you very much. My socks are from TM Lewin. Some slightly more in-depth questions. One for Sophia. What inspired you to explore the world of historical performance practice to begin with?
Well, I'll repeat myself. It will have to be Rachel Podger,
Right.
and I must have been 11 when I heard the recording of the Sonatas and Partitas by her, and it just completely opened new horizons for the way I was thinking about music. Back then, I was still studying in Bulgaria, where, let's say, people don't really think in the ways of early music.
You told me previously, I remember, you said there's not so much of a culture of historical performance practice.
No, so it was pretty difficult to try to convince someone that this is how I would like to phrase.
Yeah.
Yes, I was told, when you get a Baroque bow, then you play to me like you want to play. But when I came here to England and I started being introduced to groups like Arcangelo and hearing what real HP groups do, that really sort of infected me. Right. With joy and happiness for this sort of music making that I've just been, I'll never want to stop doing it.
That's wonderful. And the same person has sent in a question for you, Johnny. As an extremely proficient keyboard player and cellist, says the person, how important would you say it is for young cellists to learn more about continuo playing and the art of realising figured bass?
Well, I think that's absolutely correct. I think it's hugely valuable for a bassline player to learn about harmony, because essentially, as a bassline player, you're always inflecting and driving or holding the music as the foundation through harmony, and understanding how it relates to the bassline is going to only deepen the way that one can help and inflect. I think I think it's useful for everyone to have an understanding of, especially if one's playing harmonic music, but in a way the piano or the keyboard is the clearest sense, because you can play chords and you can see how that works on the keyboard. So having a grounding in keyboard, I think, is very valuable, not just for cellists actually, but for melody players as well. I would advise anybody to actually. Handel wrote a very good guide to the continuo. I remember when I started. That was one of the, edited by David Ledbetter, I think, very fine, which starts very, very basically actually with root chords and fifth chords, and then adds the sixth, and then you end up kind of just sort of improvising over a bass line. So one can learn those skills, and I think it's very valuable. It's great fun as well. So.
Another question. Hello, Arcangelo. Great to hear about your recording plans, but are there any virtual concerts in the pipeline for this year? We're really missing live events, and streaming at home gives us enormous pleasure. I think that's probably one for me, isn't it?
Yes. You should have some questions as well.
Yes. Well, I had the socks question. Don't forget, I had the socks question. This is a very good question. It's a very serious question. In a nutshell, all of our supporters, I think, agree that the joy of an Arcangelo performance, the joy of any chamber music performance, is the live event. We can't get away from that. The sense of the connections between players is something that you just can't mediate via a screen, as much as performances such as the ones we recorded this afternoon can be lovingly recorded and presented. We are looking very hard at all the available options for virtual concerts at the moment. There's a wonderful series that's been put on live at London, which I'm sure you're aware of, which featured performances by many of the great UK vocal groups in particular this autumn. Wonderful initiative set up, which has been doing great things. We're looking at that and other opportunities to see whether we can convey something of Arcangelo live to you via that kind of platform. I should also say that we really hope that there will be short-range opportunities to make real live concerts happen this year. We can't confirm it yet, but we are pretty confident that there will be an Arcangelo live performance happening in December, and we will bring you confirmed news of that as soon as we can. Stay tuned to our mailing list, and we will let you know, of course, as soon as anything new pops up. It's a linked topic, I suppose, the question of Arcangelo's very survival. Are we okay? I know some supporters have been asking this all year, actually. How are we doing? How is Arcangelo doing? The good news is that Arcangelo is alive and well, very well, and it's secure. We are able to plan as confidently as it's possible right now for the future. We have been thankful since the start, since 2010, for our success. It's been built on the generosity of individual supporters who have funded our core costs as an organisation, as well as the recording projects. Every donation that gets made to Arcangelo turns into music making. And we receive no government subsidy, we never have done. And we've made an extraordinary amount happen thanks to the same extraordinary tradition of European patronage, which fundamentally also supported Monteverdi right at the beginning. We stand in debt to every supporter who's contributed, and we would really like to remind you that it is that support which drives Arcangelo. If you do feel that Arcangelo's music making is something that is special, that you would like to support this year, we are always delighted to hear from supporters. Please do get in touch with us via our website or directly. Many of you have direct contact details for myself, for Johnny. Please do contact us, and we'd be delighted to let you know how you can support us this year with our activity. I'm delighted to say that we've beaten the gremlins in the background, and Sophia's performance of the Zuccari Violin Sonata in A minor from the Opus 10 set is now ready for you to enjoy. So here it is, a little later than scheduled, Sophia Prodanova and Johnny Cohen playing Zuccari's Violin Sonata in A minor. so it really only remains to thank all of you very much for tuning in and for watching. We hope you'll enjoy watching again in the coming days. We would like to say thanks also to our musicians, of course, to Johnny, to Sophia, to James Toll, to Andrew Skidmore, and of course to Barnabas Kelemen in Hungary. We'd like to say huge thanks to our broadcast crew and support team, Kerr, Ali and Tony, who've worked so hard for us all day to make this broadcast happen. And we'd also like to give our thanks once again to our host for this occasion, Professor Clive Potter. Thank you, all of you, very much. And it only remains to say to you, thank you for watching and good night.
Good night.
Good night.